So before we get into too much, just give you kind of a high-level overview of what today is going to be about. I'll start again, as I have this entire session, with a little bit about me. So if you've come to one of these before, I apologize. I'll go through it very quickly. D4s, y'all already know basically everything about me, so I'll really go through it quickly. I'll kind of give you a snapshot of my dental involvement throughout dental school and what that has meant to me, what it's going to mean to me after dental school. And then I'll make the case for why should you get involved in organized dentistry. If you haven't been involved very much or at all during dental school, if you've come to a lunch and learn, I argue the case that you have been involved in organized dentistry in some way. So kind of like we talked at our last performance ping pong presentation, that a performance doesn't necessarily have to be the traditional on the stage, performing in front of an audience, right? It can be something as simple as presenting a treatment plan presentation, or not so simple if it's a pretty complicated treatment plan presentation, right? So similarly, if you've done any of that, if you've just been to a lunch and learn, if you've volunteered and helped out with tabling, then you have been involved in organized dentistry in some way during dental school. Why should we do that after we get out of dental school, right? So I'll make the case that dental school involvement is really just a pipeline to become involved as a dentist, because you're a dentist a heck of a lot longer than you are a dental student, right? So it stands to reason we're laying the foundation now in dental school for those best practices. But if you kind of miss the boat there, you're not off the hook, because we need you and we need your voice. And how we can get involved today. So without further ado, I would like to just kind of backtrack right quick to what we have covered so far at our Lunch and Learn series. Really appreciate student engagement for allowing me to hold this three-part series. I know that was a bit ambitious, but I think that there's been some really good pearls and nuggets that people have walked away with so far, and I really appreciate all of your attention up to this point. So a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Beebe, Arkansas. My wife is the lovely Miranda. I'm a proud dog dad to Tilly and a cat dad to Abra. I graduated with my bachelor and master's degrees in voice performance. I worked pretty extensively in a bunch of odd jobs before coming to dental school. Did my prereqs while I was working a couple of different jobs full time. And I like to sing, I like to eat, I like to travel, I like to play video games, I like to plant. My buddy Christian just went to Home Depot with me yesterday. Spent about 45 minutes while I very egregiously looked over all the flowers in the flower department, picked them out, and then planted some flowers in my planters yesterday, which was really nice. It's a great escape from stressors of dental school. We also talked about at my first Lunch and Learn that there are a lot of things that made you exemplary and made you unique and made you great before coming to dental school, right? So don't lose that after you graduate dental school. Just because you have this 4-year period whereby you have to put some stuff up on a shelf, don't let it gather so much dust that you can't remember what it was that you liked to do before you became a dentist, right? Not that being a dentist isn't great, because it is, and we help a lot of people, but there's a lot of stuff that we can do to help ourselves along the way. I really like to perform, so some recent performance credits include Andrea Bocelli. I got to sing at the Yum Center. I've sung with Yo-Yo Ma in Mammoth Cave, which was really cool. I got to perform with one of my kind of like choir idols. His name's Eric Whitaker. He's a composer, conductor, and I'm really excited. On Wednesday and Thursday, I actually get to perform Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, which I have never done before, so I'm really super excited about that too. And I may be the world's fastest backwards crab crawler. I say with a question mark because I've never found my equal. So we can't know for sure, can we? No, you can't see it because I need about 150 meters of space. I need about 75 meters to get going, and then I need the other 75 to stop. So, because I'll bump my noggin if I don't. But maybe out in that hallway sometime. And I have done it out in that hallway at times. So just a recap of our first Lunch and Learn, which was titled Falling with Style, Leadership, Mental Health, and the Road to Figuring Out That Great Leaders Don't Have It All Figured Out, right? We walked away with, if you thought that my takeaway from that is that I had a sunshine and rainbows approach and go through dental school, then I failed miserably as a presenter. It was really to make the case that you can be an exemplary leader. I don't consider myself an exemplary leader, but you can be a leader and you can do great things for people and leave them feeling touched and moved, even if you don't feel like you have it all figured out, right? So we talked a lot about ASDA, National ASDA's 5 platforms of wellness. We have a really great wellness team locally here with LASDA physical, mental health offerings. We're really making the push, I know, for telehealth conferencing too, just to increase access to mental wellness across the board. And no matter where you are, we want you to know that you have a place that you can go, someone that you can reach out to, right? And it really helps to compartmentalize our platforms of wellness, because wellness in general is a very broad topic. You can be environmentally well, your workspace can be very clean, but on the inside, you can have inner turmoil, right? You can be intellectually well, you can be stimulated, have all of these great activities that keep you energized. You can be occupationally unwell. You can go to work and you can be really miserable with the job that you're doing. Do we have control over these platforms of wellness? Yes, we do. We have the ability to impact and influence the wellness that we feel and the wellness of those around us. So never discount that. So we talked about, at the end of that first Lunch and Learn presentation, why do we have this talk anyway? Why do we talk about wellness? Why do we talk about it in relation to being a leader and a dental leader more specifically? Again, I touched on that my trajectory in dental school was anything if linear. So would-be leaders, oftentimes the best that we would have as our leaders, they feel precluded from applying for these positions just because they don't feel like they have what it takes, or they don't have it figured out, right? A lot of times, many leaders who really don't have what it takes, but they have all of the other abilities, they have the accolades, end up applying for these positions just because they feel like it's something they need to do. It's a resume builder, maybe they're not that passionate about it, or maybe they are passionate about it and they are really a great fit for that position. But that doesn't mean that people who don't have it all figured out, aren't completely all A students, maybe don't have the best hand skills, can't be a great dental leader as well. I'm speaking about a friend in that environment right there. So dental school can be very tough on mental health, and we leave it at that, right? That's why it's so important to have those resources, those check-in moments of other things that we love and other people that we love that can kind of get us out of that headspace. Find an outlet for enrichment or escape, kind of pointing at that. And then by daring to allow yourself to fail, you will find out you're so much more capable than you think. You can do a lot more than you initially thought you could, but you got to let yourself fail to figure that out first, right? And how can you fall with style? Just incidentally, the title of that presentation came from Toy Story, when at the end of that movie, Woody says, "Look, Buzz, you're flying." And he says, "That's not flying, it's falling with style," right? And I kind of liken that to my unique journey through dental school. It kind of seemed like it was really nice, and I got to do all of these great things, but there were a lot of challenges and struggles that I've had to work through. So how can you fall with style? What is that thing that's challenging to you, but it has inspired you to grow and to find that you're much more capable of things than you perhaps think? So what's next for you? D3s, this is looking at you. D4s, we're on the way out, but you're not off the hook, as you can see at the bottom. It's okay to not be okay, but it's never okay to not let somebody know that you're not okay, right? Don't keep it locked up. Be courageous if you're on the fence about getting involved. You'll never know until you try. The worst that you can do is, fall short of a few things in your leadership capacities. All that does is help you grow into another leadership role. HASDA is a get out what you put in association, right? If you put in a little, you're going to get a little bit out. If you put in a lot, you're going to get a whole lot more than you ever thought that you would. And that applies for organized dentistry too. I'm not just talking about the ADA, I'm talking about any of these organized affiliates that you might choose to become involved with. And there's never a good time in dental school for a leadership position, right? D4s, D3s, you know this. There's never a good weekend to hang out. There's never a good time to go and work out. There's never a time to breathe. We've talked about there's never a time to drink water, right? Let's do this poll again. How many of you stepped foot in this building and you haven't opened your water bottle since the beginning of the day? You don't have to raise your hands if you don't want to, but that's pretty telling, right? Many, many days, probably the majority of days have gone by that I've thought, oh, there's a water bottle in my backpack, and I did not actually use that, okay? So there's never a good time until you make it. There's never a good time to take a drink of water until you take that moment and take a drink of water. And then you're like, that was a good time to take a drink of water. So are you on the fence about full-time clinical dentistry? Well, we can talk about some avenues that you can augment your career with different options. Dentistry is so unique in that it offers a really wide variety of job opportunities. A lot of those aren't necessarily cut and dry. They aren't really explicated to you in dental school. And so it takes kind of getting out into the field and getting your toes wet, so to speak, to be able to, see the forest for the trees, to see past that class 2 prep, right? And again, if you're a D4, you're not off the hook because we need you in the dental field. You're a dentist a whole lot longer than you are a dental student. quick recap of our part 2 was performer ping pong, remembering the 2 P's of the performer audience dynamic. Do we have any D2s in here who are kind of sneaky? Rhea, can you remind me of what our 2 P's are by chance? It was physical, I think ballet. Yeah, there we go. Poise, physical poise, and mental, I think the holidays. Presence, yes. Physical poise, mental presence, the 2 P's of our performer audience dynamic. We talked about adopting a performance mindset and why the heck that matters relative to dentistry. And that includes physical balance, mental balance, both of which are very, very important to us in our everyday duties. Talked about how performance is like ping pong. It's a lot of back and forth, and the more that you do it, the more that you practice, the more adaptive that you are in those kind of hairpin situations. So poise is an assessment of our head, our shoulders, our arms, and our hands, our hips, our thighs, and our knees, our ankles, and feet. And it's not just for speaking scenarios, right? If we can assess those things, if we can carry ourselves with as little tension as possible into the operatory, then we're going to have longevity past that of a lot of our peers who aren't considering those things, right? Similarly, mental balance or presence is an assessment of gaze, focus, cadence, breathing rate, facial expressions, and statements and responses. And again, not just for speaking scenarios, right? If we're carrying ourselves well with really optimal physical poise, we're sitting upright, we're eye level with our patients, they can tell that we're invested through our mental presence, we're going to sell that treatment plan presentation a whole lot better. And I shy away from saying sell that treatment presentation. We're going to present that treatment plan presentation, right? I want to get away from this kind of transactionary relationship that we have with our patients. They're people, and they're also a member of an audience in that moment. And it's our duty as a performer to offer them as compelling and as authentic and true a narrative as we can, right? So, and a brief recap of that lunch and learn. When everyone is silly, nobody else will be. We talked about syndrome from The Incredibles, and when everyone's super, no one will be. So the only person in a room of people unafraid to be silly, who looks silly, is that person who's afraid to be silly, right? If everybody's shaking around doing the Monty Python silly walk, the only person who looks silly is the person who's not walking silly. So dare to fail. Once again, dare to get out of that, kind of comfort bubble. Dental school is really good at that, right? But only if we let it. And performance opportunities are ubiquitous around us. That means that they happen everywhere, all the time, even if we don't notice it. And a balanced performer is a constant assimilation of this 2-sided coin, physical poise, mental presence. A balanced performance, we talked about commonly encountered issues such as self-consciousness and physical tension, and some remedies and solutions there. Just as a quick aside, if anybody in here has some speaking fears or stage fright, one of the best tips that I'll give you that paid dividends to me is to learn how to zone out. So if I'm talking and I'm really, really scared of looking at that front row, a simple trick is to look right through Jennifer and Jacqueline and look at Becca's laptop. So it kind of looks like I'm splitting the difference. It looks like I'm looking at both of them, but I'm not looking at either of them at the same time. So let's pick a spot on the back wall. We'll talk to that. It looks like I'm looking, oh yeah, high key. I generally see your visage. So we're looking in that area, we're speaking, but we don't really see a single set of eyes on us. And then we just shift and we look over in this area, and it still look like we're being engaged and dynamic and making face-to-face connections with our audience, even if we don't actually see their faces. Okay. So let me give you kind of a rundown of what I have gotten to do, what I've been fortunate enough to be able to do during dental school. And I'll fly through this real quickly just because I want to get to the meat and potatoes of this. So I was elected the D1 class, LASDA class rep fall of 2020. I got involved with the DLT thanks to Chandler Unfried and Taylor Walker-Smith, 2 of my LASDA heroes and mentors. Their inspiration helped me to kind of come up with a service opportunity, particularly for D4s during COVID, where they couldn't meet in corporate environments or indoors at all. So we came up with this clean up downtown idea where we picked up trash around downtown Louisville, which is kind of, it pays dividends because there's always going to be trash to pick up around downtown Louisville, right? So that's kind of a in perpetuity service work. I helped organize our D1 class event, which was called Spring Break's a Beach. And it was called that because we didn't get a spring break. It was taken away, and we were given Mental Health Mondays instead. Fond memories, right, D4s? At the district level, I attended our virtual District 7 meeting. It might seem boring, but that's actually where I kind of caught the ASDA fever, where that made me feel like, wow, there's a whole group of people who are committed to helping their peers learn about organized dentistry, learn about all the values of the dental profession that's not being taught at dental school particularly, and I was just wowed by that. And then that kind of prompted me to sign up last minute to be on the D7 events team so I could help plan the in-person District 7 conference that took place the following fall. And I was awarded the Memory Maker Award at our ASDA District 7 Leadership Retreat. And then similarly to the district meeting, I attended our virtual annual session in the spring. And that's where we saw our national leaders get elected, our local district leaders. And it's just a pretty powerful thing to see, you know, this association that we take for granted a lot of the times at the local level and the governance factor therein, that there's a whole national association that helps this organization at the local level run smoothly. Not discounting all of the work that all of you officers, all of us officers have done and do for LASDA, but there's a big support network in national and district ASDA that we can really tap into if we're ever having a tough time. At the D2 level, I became the Cardinal Initiative co-director with my fellow co-director over there, and she just did a fantastic job leading the chapter as president the following year. That included the Cardinal Guide program, the D1 leadership track, and student interviews and QAs, because we were doing, if there's any D3s in here, it was probably remote interviews, right? Or remote interviews for the D2 class right now. So I probably saw you on Zoom at one point. And then at the national level, I joined the Board of Trustees as the District 7 trustee, and I was a member of the ASDA Council on Advocacy. So as we get further and further along in my dental school years, you'll see some bolded things that I was affiliated with. These weren't a part of my primary role. These were kind of tangential directives, responsibilities, opportunities that were availed to me as part of my primary role, but it was just extra stuff that was fun, and I got to meet more people as a result of having these other auxiliary opportunities. So we'll talk about the snowball effect in a minute, and the more that you get into this kind of stuff, the more that people are going to be calling on you and drawing from your what they consider my expertise, and it really, really is an enriching part of your occupational wellness. So at the D4 level, this past year, I was our National ASDA Liaison again for LASDA, helped out with the LT. They had a great event the other night, so kudos to the D1 planning team for that event and to the Cardinal Initiative directors for making that event happen. And I've gotten to do a Lunch and Learn series. I've gotten to be involved with the KDA in terms of trying to influence the conversation to increase the Medicaid dental benefit in the state of Kentucky, which hasn't increased since the 80s. So what that has the effect of doing is that fewer and fewer dentists in Kentucky will accept Medicaid. That means more and more patients are going without dental care, leaving Kentucky at 51st ranked in oral health care in the United States. So those conversations are important, and never discount your ability. Some of those of you are in this room who helped with those conversations and writing letters, writing emails, and calling legislators to try and tip that in the scale in favor of dentists and dentistry in Kentucky. So I gave a workshop at the District 7 meeting, which was great. It was that same performance ping pong lecture that I gave with a few different bells and whistles. Got to serve on the Advocacy Council again. I served on the National Leadership Conference Planning Committee, which is the event that every dental student just wants to go to NLC because it really offers you a lot in terms of professional enrichment and personal development. So it was a privilege to be able to spend time on that planning committee and offer what I thought was valuable to my peers. I served on the Council on Annual Meetings, which helps plan SmileCon. So that was a really neat thing to see nearly 10,000 attendees in Orlando this last year, really enjoying all of the surprise and delight factors as well as CE that we had spent a year arduously planning there before. I served as an ASDA consultant now for the Council on Dental Education and Licensure, which I've never thought that I would feel like more targeted in a position than that one, because my first meeting in Chicago was with the entire CDL Council, and that was a week after I'd had mock boards and a week before I had actual boards. And CDL is responsible for administering the ADEX exams. They're responsible for the INBDE examination and the questions that are offered there, the OSCE. So all of these things that I was kind of, actively going through, I was at a meeting having conversations, and having a seat at the table to impact what those examinations look like. I really made the case for let's just drop all of the 8X exams entirely, right? But they didn't hear me out, sorry. I was working for you guys, D3, it just didn't work. And I served for the AGD, which I had never really had much exposure to. I had the opportunity to serve as a dignitary on behalf of hASDA at their House of Delegates meeting back in November. So again, all of these little auxiliary extra opportunities just as a result of getting involved and staying involved, right? So now, kind of the meat and potatoes of the matter, why? Why get involved? For my D4s up there who are on the way out the door, why the heck is it worth my bottom line to even take the time and invest at this point, right, in organized dentistry? The first of which is being, I would like to call it connected connections. We always say, oh, your network is really, really important. You got to have connections. But I really take value in making sure that my connections are connected, that I know the people that I feel connected with, that I'm not just reaching out to this person who can help me leverage, a deal or make my career trajectory improved just because they can do that, right? But because I also respect and value them as a person and as a colleague. So your network is your net worth, right? That's kind of a cliche, but it's certainly true. So exposure to and collaboration with leading experts in all fields of dentistry is only going to increase your net worth, right? As a result of being involved in organized dentistry for the past 3 years, I've had exposure to deans and department chairs who are not the deans and department chairs of our dental school. Spoiler alert, most dental schools have similar or the same issues that we go through. So another benefit of being involved in organized dentistry at not just the local level is that all of our perceived problems with our particular school and how bad we have it, because of globalization and all the different issues that different dental students have at different dental schools, our issues become more localized and they become a little bit more stomachable for us, right? And we cease to just throw them out there as complaints because now we might have some solutions. Well, this school doesn't necessarily have this problem because these students impacted this policy that changed their administration's mind. We have done that as LASDA for several of our brother and sister schools, and they have done that in turn for us. So it's all about our network and connecting our connections. You'll meet change makers inside and outside of dentistry. One of my favorite experiences that I had as part of the committee on annual meetings was that we had a 2-day intensive dream weaving session. And to facilitate that, they brought in this improv comedian who has turned into a business consultant for like Fortune 100 companies. And he simply gets in there and he has you act silly. He has you come up with all the crazy cockamamie ideas that you can think of and throw them on a board. And what can we make a great SmileCon out of this? Yeah, we're going to have to throw away probably the, immersive puppy ball pit where like you go in and you're swimming in a ball pit of puppies. But we can get something close, right? We can have a puppy room where people come and pet puppies and it's wonderful and it's not related to dentistry in the slightest. And we have some wonderful CE opportunities as well. But again, it's really, really valuable to have those perspectives from those change makers and influencers outside of the dental profession. And how can we bring those creative visions into the dental sector? And finally, it improves our industry connections, gives us discounts, access to prototype technology, try before you buy. Nobody wants to, shell out $100,000 for a 3D printing unit if it's absolute garbage, right? But if you have a connection with that industry professional, they might let you try it out before you end up signing the lease on it. Or at least you're going to a conference where you can see it done in real time. Or you know somebody because you're connected, you know somebody that bought that and they're like, no, avoid that like the plague. Don't buy this technology, don't buy from this company. Again, that's only increasing our net worth because it prevents us from buying into faulty investments. Get first access to new products, and then, again, informational value. If you know that something's great and it's gonna cost 5 times what it costs a year from now, but you have, proprietary knowledge of that beforehand, go ahead, get in on the ground floor. Just be sure if you're presenting research that you make that disclaimer about, I have no financial stake in this or whatever, right? So finally, investment in more than just profit. Oftentimes it can be difficult, especially in the frame of the loan burden that most dental students walk out of school with, to say, you need to get involved in organized dentistry, and it's not going to make you a whole lot of money at first. That can be a hard pill to swallow, especially when you're looking at another pill of $500,000, $600,000, $750,000, right? That you have a foreseeable way to pay that back, but it's a long road. So it can be a kind of a big ask to say, well, you want me to get involved right now, right at the start of my career? And the answer, well, at least my answer is yes, I want you to get involved. It doesn't have to be a whole lot, and I'll try to make the case for that too. But I think, again, what you put into it, you'll find that you get more out of it than you put into it. So more than just profit, it improves our occupational wellness. It makes us want to go to work because we know that we're part of a profession that has other individuals who are going through similar or the same struggles as us. It's filled with like-minded individuals who want to improve the patient base that we serve and make the world a little bit better place. That cultivates lifelong friendships. That helps us to keep our moral compass pointing at our true north of why we got into dentistry in the first place, right? Which is not to just be profit-driven collections, but to help the people around us, right? It helps us to create a true community of care. We always throw that term around. Oh, we want to make a community of care for our patients. But what about a community of care for providers, right? How many of you, we're all D3s and D4s, so how many of you have felt like there's such a disconnect sometimes with what we do in the dental clinic, with the med consult that we're sending out that's taken 7 months to get sent back, and then it takes us another 3 months to review it. And all in the meantime, that patient is just kind of waiting in the wings thinking, you know, have they forgotten me? So if we can increase and improve upon our community of medical care, we'll improve upon our community of patient care. And then I put kind of the reverse reaction arrows for this right here. You can be a mentor to someone and also be their mentee. You can be someone's mentee, but you can also mentor them. One of my favorite mentors that I have met while I've been involved in organized dentistry and dental school was a candidate for president-elect of the ADA. His name's Chad Leidy. He would literally give me the shirt off his sleeve, and off his back, sorry. And I like to think that I would do the same for him. And he was very candid in supporting me throughout my leadership journey and saying, I think you've been more of a mentor to me than I have to you. I'm not saying that to be braggadocious or anything. I'm just saying it again to know that your words and your actions have power even to those who are already in positions of authority and power. And it means a lot that we as young, invested individuals who have some skin in the game, right? There's nobody with more skin in the dental professional game than people graduating right out of dental school, right? Because we're the ones who have to live in it for the next 30, 40, 50 years. So never discount your ability to influence change. And then a lot of travel opportunities. So preventing burnout is a big aspect of why you should get involved. You have improved CE options. It's not just CE that you take to check it off of your state requirements list. It's CE that you want to do. It's CE that's helping you make more money and do the things that you're interested in within the dental profession, right? It's CE that's helping you to improve your patient's quality of life. It's CE that you're just interested in and want to learn more about, even if it's not going to improve or disimprove your bottom line. You'll get speaking and presentation opportunities. A lot of times you can make those yourself. Like I went up to Rhea and I said, hey, can I do a 3-part Lunch and Learn series? And I think she kind of obligatorily said, oh, sure, why not? And there was probably some raised eyebrows behind my back, and I'm fine with that. But I'm also fine with the fact that I got to do a Lunch and Learn series, right? So be assertive. If you know that you have what it takes to insert yourself into this opportunity, don't be bashful, right? Don't be a braggart, but at the same time, nobody's gonna know unless you let them know. So it's a breakup of your monotony, right? If you've got, typically a 5-day week and you're seeing 65, 70 patients a week, maybe more. I don't even know if that's a lot yet. I'm sure it's probably not. If you're seeing 300 patients a week and you're just getting burned out and you can feel like at the end of the month you just need a 3 or a 4-day weekend, why not get involved and go get some, energy, add some mojo back into your routine by empowering yourself to learn about the thing that you're doing every single day, but doing it in a way that takes you out of your comfort zone. It allows you to meet new people. It allows you to get more connected, and it allows you to have a little fun along the way. CE has never been easier to access. For example, there's a Bridge to SmileCon program that if you do this CE leading up to the SmileCon event, then at SmileCon they present you with a certificate and you're accredited in whatever it was that track that you were taking throughout the year. It's very low commitment. You get to go to SmileCon at the end, have a nice awards ceremony, and you end up being certified in whatever that CE was at the end of it, which is pretty great. You have other challenges to tackle in your own career. I can't tell you how valuable this was to me as a dental student, to be able to step away from the clinical pharmacology nightmare exam that was coming up and know that I had another role where people valued what I had to say. They didn't belittle me or berate me for the opinions that I had. If I was a little misguided in some outlook that I had on something, I wasn't roasted over the coals. I was empowered to maybe change my way of thinking and see where another person was coming from, right? So these mature conversations, and they are that. They're conversations that take place. It's not one-sided. It's a performance. You're a performer at once, you're an audience member at another. It's a two-sided coin. Filled pockets does not equal fulfillment, right? There's a lot of really, really, really rich people that look like the most miserable people on earth, right? And there's a fine line. We want to make a living. We want to make a sustainable lifestyle for us and our families. We've come to dental school for 4 years, so we really want to kind of reap what we have sown. But at the same time, after a few years and you are financially secure, you might start feeling like, what else? What else is there for me to do? This is a great what else. I guarantee you that. And then finally, travel opportunities. As part of my last Lunch and Learn, I explained a few different places that I've gotten to go. I think I lost count. It was like 15 different major or mid-sized cities in 2023 alone. And I've never gotten to travel with that volume. And it was all on the dime of the American Student Dental Association. Now, I was doing work, right? When I was going somewhere, I was doing work. But there's no reason you can't have a little bit of fun along the way. Here's looking at Josh, who just got back from Chicago at what I'm assuming was a fantastic spring council this past weekend, where our national leaders, several of whom are from the University of Louisville, several of whom are from hASDA District 7, of which Louisville is a part, were represented, and they really, really showed our best graces there. And finally, the snowball effect that I mentioned earlier, volunteering here opens a door over here, right? I'm not completely altruistic in all of this, right? By being selfishly selfless, I talked about this when I taught a performance class. We can be selfish as a performer by being selfless and presenting our skill to our audience, right? We give of ourselves, we get up in front of people, provide ourselves with a little discomfort for the enjoyment of the greater group. And what does that do? That allows us to be selfish, because then they come up to us and they say, hey, great job, you did such a good job, and we get to feel good about ourselves, right? It's similar in dentistry, right? So by giving of yourself and your time and your efforts, you're not just expected to, be like, okay, go home. You don't get anything out of this. You get a lot of travel on another organization's dime. Again, you're doing work, but you get to have a lot of fun in the meantime. You're getting to meet people. You're getting to leverage connections. You're getting access to information before people who are stuck in a rut back at their practice, and they go there 5 days a week, and then they go home, and they have just a weekend to themselves. You're getting so much more than they are. I guarantee you that. And then there's lots of opportunities for career augmentation. There's part-time speaking roles that you can do. You can become a guest lecturer. You can work at a dental school part-time, like a lot of our faculty do. You can do consultant roles with a DSO. A lot of them might be looking for dentists who are looking to kind of moonlight their clinical career, but still be, active a little bit. And then you can change, right? You can go from DMD. You can go into education. You can go into dental policy. You can become a politician. There's 2 dentists in Congress right now who have been in Congress for many, many years, because ADPAC, the American Dental Political Action Campaign, is really good at what it does. And they, are happy to stay in those positions. And we're happy to have advocates on Capitol Hill. You can become an executive director. That's kind of my pipeline after I do my National Health Service Corps commitment, is to become the executive director of the Arkansas State Dental Association. Doing a lot of what I consider I do now as a professional paid role. What could be better than that, right? And I still get to practice dentistry a little bit on the side too. And you get enhanced practice purchase and sell options, like in this picture with the ADA Health Policy Institute. If you've never heard of this and you're a data cruncher, you like analytics, you will absolutely love the HPI because it presents information in such a way that you can aggregate it how you want. If you're looking for the number of large dental practices versus DSOs versus private practitioners within a single state, you can have all of that at your fingertips. And a lot of our DSOs that aren't so willing to provide complimentary ADA memberships for their DSO practitioners utilize this information, right? They're utilizing the free information that the ADA is giving them. Why? Because the ADA is a good objective third party, and it knows that its role is to protect the profession, not to create profits. So another reason why you should get involved is for the benefits that come when the going gets tough. So I think that involvement is like a professional alley-oop. A lot of times you're almost there, but you just need somebody to kind of get you the last 3 inches or so. So if you're at a dead-end moment, there's a greater collective of ideas to help propel you forward, right? We're all like the smartest people and the most exemplary and the best and brightest individuals, right? But we're all exemplary at different things. So if we're trying to do it all on our lonesome, then we're skipping out and we're missing out on a much more broadened, expanded toolkit of how we can solve that problem, just by involving a few other individuals who have different skill sets than we do. I alluded to the Health Policy Institute, and then the Practice Transitions Service is a really wonderful thing. Owning a practice is becoming harder and harder for a first-year graduate given the increasing debt. But at the same time, if you are interested in becoming a practice owner, there's a pipeline and a toolkit for how you can do that. And ADA Practice Transitions is a really excellent means of linking up potential buyers with practice sellers, and doing so at like a 0% commission too, instead of having to go through a third party that's for profit. And then a reliable base of knowledge and literature. So I actually really like having access to PubMed. I was sad, knowing that when I graduate, I'm not going to have unpaid access to that. As an ADA member, when you log into your ADA app and you go to PubMed through the ADA app, you have access to everything that we have access to now. Yeah, it's awesome. So if you're ever looking for scholarly literature to back up that very naggy patient on why you're making the treatment decision that you are, just know that you can find it in PubMed by going through the ADA app, and we'll touch a little bit more on ADA physical and digital resources there. So if you don't know, chances are there's someone who does or knows somebody who knows, right? It's all about who you know. So we send stepbrothers, right? I got in med school. Anyway, so another thing that's really valuable in terms of getting involved is damage control. It's really hard to pick yourself back up sometimes when you've fallen down into a 10-foot hole. It's a little bit easier when you have somebody there to lend a helping hand. So learn from those who have been through your struggles before you make that mistake, right? Or if you're in it, know that there are people who have actively been in it too. There are people who bought a practice right out of dental school and it failed, right? Lean on those individuals for their expertise if you're one of those individuals that want to buy a practice right out of dental school. It offers you an ethico-legal life jacket. So if you're kind of out in the ocean of ethico-legality of dentistry and you don't have any sort of dinghy boat, there's going to be, what does Dr. Hagee call him, an overly litigious patient that comes along and is going to wreck your day or your year or maybe even your entire financial existence. So it's so much more helpful when you're not isolated and you have a network of individuals that can help you with this. That can be at the local level, it can be at the state level, it can be at the national level. And finally, these small investments pay dividends when needed. By just putting a little bit of ourselves into these damage control situations, if we're there for somebody when they're having a difficult time, chances are they're going to be there to scratch our back when we are too. And then finally, some resources in times of struggle. Our current president-elect of the ADA, Dr. Brett Kessler, one of my favorite individuals I've gotten to meet as part of my time in involvement. He didn't know if he wanted to live after he graduated dental school. He didn't know if he wanted to practice dentistry. And he attributes the call that he made to his local dental component substance abuse disorder hotline with saving his life. A lot of that resonates with me personally in terms of issues that I've had with my own perceptions of can I cut it in dentistry. It provides non-judgmental assistance for dentists with substance abuse disorders. So if you feel like you're one of those individuals who you need to say something, you don't feel comfortable going in without, having your fix, this is a great way to, in a non-judgmental way, get the care and the assistance that you need so that you can get back on track and take care of your patients. And there's a lot of mental wellness resources and training that are offered through organizational involvement as well, as we have already alluded to. Finally, safeguarding the profession, just bringing it home here. This is definitely the most altruistic, the most overarching of the reasons why I think you should get involved. The others up to this point were more why it's valuable to you. This is more why your involvement, and more importantly, your lack of involvement, are valuable and very detrimental, respectively, to the profession of dentistry. Well, I wasn't involved in dental school, so I don't have time to start, figuring out how to get involved now. I got to pay back my loans. I got a baby on the way. I've got a mortgage that I'm paying now for a house. Like we said at the start of this presentation, there's never a good time for anything as a dentist, right? Except dentistry. And there's not even a good time for that, right? There's never a good time to volunteer. We're going to have bills and loans. We're going to have other professional aspirations besides being a volunteer. Our personal life kicks in. Again, we have a perceived lack of qualifications. Why would I get involved in this when there's 1,000 other people who are way more qualified than I ever will be to take on this role? Until you make it a good time, right? So let's assess our financial situation. Can we really not swing having half a day off once a month for this 30-minute webinar or this 30-minute study club? Assess the time available. Can't make that 30-minute meeting once a month? Really? You really can't make that? Assess the quality, especially with Zoom, it has never been easier to be part of an organization. Maybe some of the dynamic and, fireworks of being in an active meeting when people start to disagree with each other and the excitement has gone away a little bit, but it's never been easier to get involved. And then assess your qualifications. Nobody has what it takes to do something until they've done that something, right? Nobody had the ability to give a PSA without, also administering a hematoma. Really, nobody has the ability to do that. Nobody had the ability to give an IAN comfortably, right, until they had done it uncomfortably and a few times and then had it done on themselves. And then finally, we got kind of an inkling of how to do that. A picture here of Lobby Day. Raise your hand if you were at Lobby Day this past week in Washington, D.C. Thank you guys for your service and going to the Hill on behalf of the dental profession. It's so much stronger when we have both dentists and dental students who are making the case that these legislative acts that sometimes our do-nothing Congress is, unable to even pass, it's valuable to keep bringing those back up year over year until they do get passed. Case in point, one of the acts that I would love to see back on the docket here soon was the ELSA Act. It's the Ensuring Lasting Smiles Act, and that's to ensure individuals born with craniofacial differences don't just have the first two surgeries coded under medical and the rest of the surgeries that they need, which can sometimes be 50 to 60 different surgical procedures coded as cosmetic, because we know that that's not the case. So we want to get individuals like that the care that they need and deserve. Finally, there's a commensal value of an ADA or other association membership, right? Anybody remember from, I think it was microbiology, what commensalism is? It's where everybody's getting something out of it, right? I may have a parasite on my hip, but by God, it's doing something for me, right? So I'm going to let it stay there. So at a minimum, a membership of something, of some not-for-profit association, it's going to give you improved connections, as we've touched on. It'll give you enhanced roles and opportunities in and out of the operatory. I touch on because my unique journey through dentistry is kind of pushing me away from full-time clinical. But I've had interactions with individuals who say, you point to which public health location you would like to work in, and we'll help you get the paperwork signed out to get you to that spot. British Virgin Islands was looking very nice for a second, until I thought, man, that's going to be really expensive. I'm not going to be able to live anywhere on the Virgin Islands, and that's going to be one heck of a commute from the mainland. Finally, some professional and personal enrichment, of which we have touched upon. And then advocacy on open and closed door issues on your behalf. We talk about the ELSA Act. That gets a lot of traction because it has a lot of sentimentality behind it. But there's so many other issues that the ADA goes to bat for on your behalf that you will never know about. And it's not necessarily our reason to know. There was something, I believe it was in Arkansas. The Arkansas State Legislature was going to revise the smoke detector coatings that was going to cause a lot of private practitioners had to pay like $25,000 to replace their smoke detector systems entirely and bring it up to these standards. Arkansas State Dental Association steps in and says, no, we're not going to have any of that, lobbied very heavily, and the bill failed. So sometimes it's not just about, pushing for legislation we want to see pass. It's for pushing for bad legislation for dentistry that we don't want to see pass. This medical loss ratio, anybody heard of Yes on 2 in here? So the medical loss ratio, that involves how much of a percentage of a covered service is going directly to patient care when billed to an insurance company, how much is being reimbursed for that particular coverage, and how much of it is lining the pocketbooks of those that work for the insurance company. It was pretty abysmal up until now, and still is in most states, set at like 60%. So 60-ish% of what a patient is paying for that procedure is actually going to their care. And 40% of it, almost half, is going back to the insurance company. If that's not just ridiculous and that doesn't get your blood boiling, I don't know what will. The ADA steps in when Massachusetts had a referendum legislation for Yes on 2 to increase the medical loss ratio to upwards of 85%, I believe. So now 85% in Massachusetts of dental care that's billed for by an insurance company goes directly to that patient care and in turn to reimbursing the provider. 15% goes to the insurance company. That's a little bit more of a workable number, but we still have a lot of room to grow. ADA kicked in several millions of dollars to help that state in particular pass this initiative, and they'll do the same if we can get a snowball effect going with others. But you don't just get something out of an ADA membership, right? The ADA gets something out of your membership too. So the ADA receives financial and, more importantly, symbolic support when 1, 2, 3, 4 dentists say, I'm going to be a member of the ADA and I'm going to support the legislation that they back and the policies and the initiatives that they are going for every single year. That's pretty strong if our membership is 5 people. Right? That's 80%. If our membership is 5 people and we have 2 people say, I'm going to back the ADA, that's now a less than 50% market share. And anybody on Capitol Hill or anybody in your state level is going to say, well, less than 50% of dentists are represented by the voice of dentistry. So how can you claim to be the voice of dentistry? And at that point, we lose our leveraging chip at the table. So never discount what just simply signing up for membership can do for our association. So finally, that's the value of that objective third party, right? Corporate interests, venture capital money, it's going to go where the money is, right? And if that money leaves the dental profession, they're going to leave the dental profession, and a lot of people are going to be left high and dry. Not-for-profit associations answer foremost to their membership, and by extension, the affiliates that are affected by their membership. So it's in the ADA, it's in our dental association's best interest to act in the best interest of our members. A robust association protects our profession. So the stronger our membership, the more people are going to want to be involved. The stronger the association, the more protected the profession of dentistry is in perpetuity. So there's really no downside from your membership dues to just signing up, right? And here in a second, we'll talk about why that doesn't even really matter for D4s, because we have a patent way for you to get involved without having to pay anything for your first 18 months. So what's next for me with organized dentistry? Just as kind of an aside, I plan to stay involved at the local level, LASDA. I'd hope you'd have me back maybe to speak at some point in time, or at least to come and just hang out. I'd like to be on the alumni list for local, state, or district, or national as a potential breakout session speaker or a keynote speaker of some sort. And then since I'll be practicing in Oklahoma and Northwest Arkansas a little bit, I'd like to join a local study club. Again, stay connected at that local level. Know who my peers in my direct vicinity are, because that's very important. Those are the people who are at the grassroots level who are going to be able to help you most quickly if you're having a problem or stuck in a rut. At the national level, I would love to be a current resource for the hASDA Executive Committee if they would ever have me. Again, alumni list as a potential speaker. And then some delegate and speaking opportunities with the different local state components. And then I'd like to join the American Association of Dental Public Health as well. So more importantly, who cares about me? What is next for you? So D4s in the room, it is pertinent of you to go ahead and level up today. Again, there's literally nothing to lose because it doesn't even cost you anything, right? What unique aspect of yourself is the ADA going to benefit from by having you as a member? More importantly, what uniqueness about you is the ADA going to lose if you don't provide your membership? There's always going to be reasons not to get involved, right? But we want to create a better profession for those that follow. That goes into that altruism. So if you are an ASDA member currently, here's a level up code right here. You just need your ADA number. It takes you directly to a link. You put your information in. Go upstairs and get a chairside instructor complimentary of the ADA from Fran Williams. They are really, really lovely pieces of equipment. Yes, Nicole?
If you don't know your ADA number, you could just let me know and I can pull it for you.
And you can, it'll also have, if you don't know your ADA number, the website will say you can also use your email address and contact information that way, and it'll pull it up. If you're a non-member, it's just a little bit more of an extensive process to level up, but it's still going to be complimentary for you, okay? 18 months of membership for free. And that's what the chairside instructor looks like. D4s, I hope to see you at Slugger Field. Here's a QR code for our National Signing Day at Bat Stadium. There's a free buffet. It's a 3.5-hour game that you get to go to for free. Hope that you'll join us. The deadline to register, you don't have to do it today, but that is April 23rd. D3s, you're not off the hook, right? This is a lot of stuff leveraged at D4s, but D3s, you're still here for another year, so we need you, right? Apply for a local position. Consider applying for a national position. And I think we just have a recap. So, very, very quick recap here. Organized dentistry creates valuable connections. It helps prevent burnout. It aids in our wellness concerns. It allows many opportunities for our growth. It offers great and interesting CE. It provides a sounding board for tricky situations when we get stuck in a rut. It safeguards our profession, by extension, providers, by extension, even more importantly, our patients, and it's a lot of fun. It extends perspective to disillusioned providers. If you find yourself 20 years from now and you're really, really like, I don't want to go to work, consider changing things up a bit and find a way to get involved, and you'll be surprised at how that doesn't spruce up your outlook in the clinical chair side. 1 second, Nicole. I think with that, connect with ASDA if you would like, but otherwise, thank you very much for your attention. And I would like to give a special thank you to LASDA and to student engagement, particularly Ria, for strong-arming this and helping facilitate this series. Thank you guys so much.